Good evening, everyone. This is Thursday, October 10th, 2024. It is 6:02. This is budget hearing number 5 for the City Council to consider the proposed 2025 budget. This evening, we will be covering the Assessment Department, the Mayor's Office, Corporation Counsel and Risk Assessment, and the Clerk and Vital Statistics and City Council budgets. This is a City Council meeting as a committee of the whole, chaired by myself, Robert Kavanaugh, as the Finance Chair. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We'd like to welcome down Terry Huseby, the assessor, to present the budget. Oh, yes, sorry. Roll call first, but we'll still come on down. It's fine. Just get in position and we'll do roll call first.
Councilmember Porter.
Present.
Councilmember Middleton.
Present.
Council President Matavetsky.
Present.
Councilmember Dundon is absent. Councilmember Costi.
Present.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Present.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Present.
Thank you.
Like usually sits on the other side. No, you're fine. It's all good. Welcome. Do you want to give us the highlights of your budget summary?
Okay, I'd like to start with page 1,
Sure.
the famous base proportion.
Oh, 1 second. Yep. We're going to open the assessment pages 24 and 25.
No, except page 1, base proportionate report I do.
Oh, you do a report. Okay. We hit the. All right. We're going to review page 1 of the budget, the actual.
Base proportionate report is done yearly to determine the apportionment between homestead and non-homestead to help determine what the tax rate will be between the two types of for tax rates purposes. It's a complicated spreadsheet formula and report. We basically base what our current decreases and increases in the whole assessment roll compared to what was in 1995 and determine what apportionment it should based on the original year that it had started, was implemented. The figures we use come from the assessor report, or I have to run a custom report as well. After I put all the figures in, it's all automatically calculated. And then I send the report to the state to have it pre-approved. So basically, this year, the apportionments rounded for homestead will be 51.9000, which is the same as it was last year. And the non-homestead would be 48.1, just like last year. So the apportionments are going to be the same as last year's apportionments. Any questions?
I don't know. Other than that's not actually what it says at the bottom of the page.
It's. Oh,
Do you round?
48.1374. I haven't seen this page yet, so, and 51.8626. My figures are rounded.
Extremely close. But
Yeah,
yes, just
they're rounded.
They're rounded, right? Okay.
Okay, page 2 is just a historical account of the tax rates. That is determined once the taxable value is calculated and the portion of levy for each type, homestead and non-homestead, and then the tax rate is developed. Okay, now we're going, any questions?
I have some, but I'll wait till the end.
Huh?
I have some, I'll wait till the end.
Okay. And now we're at page 22, or it says 24 on my page. Okay.
It's 24 is the, yeah,
24.
correct.
Okay, the only change in my budget from prior year is that we added an additional 400 for a 5th bar member to be in the budget. because city charter requests that we have up to 5 bar members. So I just want to make sure we have the ability to, if we end up having 5 bar members, that we're budgeted for it. That's the only change. Everything else remained the same on the expense side.
When they meet to do grievance, how many have to be there?
3,
Review.
minimum of 3, up to 5. But that can change, depending. We've been working with 3. But if one doesn't show up, it's still a quorum with 2. Any questions?
So 2 count as a quorum of the committee of 3. Is that
Right,
right? Okay.
and 3 is a quorum of a committee of 5.
Were there no commercial consultants this year? Is
Um,
that why you're coming in low?
we still have commercial consultants of 6,180, which is the same as last year. The prior year, we had reduced that from 16,180 down to 6,180. The reason why I like to keep that item is because if we have to have professional appraisals done for settlement of Article 7s or court requests, and that happened when we had to do the Asia Route properties. My budget actually paid for the appraisals. So that's what it's there. It's really, so we have the ability to service those requests.
Yes, what I was trying to ask is, seems like you haven't spent it, or that line is kind of low for the year. Is it just you make all your payments at the end of the year for the professional services?
No, we're not going to have it because we didn't have any appraisal requests or had to pay for any commercial consultants in settlements of Article 7s.
Okay.
And also that 586.50 was just what we paid the bar members for formal grievance. But we had a light year in grievances, so that can change depending on how many grievances we have.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Don't think I'm.
I'm sorry, you're still thinking? Yeah, okay, all right. Cool. Take a minute, and we don't have any fees to do for you.
I have a question, Chairman.
Thank you.
Why add on an extra board member?
Because the city charter asked we should have up to 5 members.
Oh, okay, so you just had a vacancy because you weren't able to fill it?
We've had 2 vacancies technically. We've only been able to have 3 bar members willing to serve.
Okay.
But the city charter says that we should be striving to have 5.
Okay. There was a point during grievance season, I think, when it was, if you were almost not able to meet, correct?
Correct,
Yeah.
because someone decided to resign.
Yep, yep. So I think it's good that we're getting back up to 5.
Typical cities of this size typically have 5 bar members.
Any other questions from the floor?
Make a motion to move pages 24 and 25.
Motion by Councilman Costi to move pages 24 and 25. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilman Dundon. Any discussion on the motion? Will the clerk take the roll, please?
Councilmember Porter.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon.
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 7-0.
Thank you very much, Terry. Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
It's a privilege to meet with you tonight.
All right. I'm guessing we don't need a break yet. I'd like to welcome down Deputy Mayor Megan Hyman to present the mayor's budget. We will open up pages 17 and 18 for the mayor, municipal association dues on 52, and celebrations on 96.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Want me to just, would you like me to just give my overview, Councilman?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, so the mayor's office proposed total budget for next year is a little over $260,000. The only increase comes in the personnel services line with proposed salary increases. That budget line, which is right at the top of page 17, covers wages for all 4 positions in our office. As an overview, the lines for gas, heat, electricity, and building equipment improvement and maintenance cover expenses for the Lee Barta Community Center on the north side. That building is owned by the city and leased to the United Way for programming. The travel and training lines cover conferences and trainings offered by the New York Conference of Mayors and the US Conference of Mayors. That line staying flat next year. We have a youth programming line on page 18. Which was previously used to fund the free backpack and school supply program that the city runs in partnership with CARES every year. As that program grew over the years, the city's funding for it increased, and we started budgeting for it out of our normal CDBG budgeting process rather than the mayor's office budget. So just wanted to draw your attention to that. That funding's not been cut. It's just, we've just moved how we do it. This year it got, I think $15,000 in CDBG funds. And then lastly, that promotions and marketing line. This line is used to help promote and support various community events, and get the word out to residents about important events and happenings.
Thank you. Councilwoman Middleton, did you say something? I'm sorry. Thought it's something different. So I'm just wondering why there's a historical reason, but why is the Barta Center heat and gas or heat and electric paid mayor's office budget? It seems like can go in other places that it's kind of odd.
I don't know. Our office has, I guess, been the primary liaison between the United Way, which operates programming there, and the city. So I would assume that's why. We expanded the building, the space there a few years back, several years back now. And that was really a project that was spearheaded by our office. That's my only guess, though. It's not really a parks facility in the sense that the United Way operates programming there, but I don't know the historical context.
Hi, Megan. Would you be able to talk more about the what gets funded with the promotions and marketing line?
Sure. So promotions and marketing, make sure I'm looking at the right line. That very last line on page 18.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so we have used that in past years to help with just different community events. It's gone to the St. Patrick's Day Parade in the past. NOMA did a summer reading program on Walnut Street that we've funded through that line before. And then, like I said, we also use it to just get the word out to residents about certain things. Like this year, some of the funding went to help promote the upcoming police exam. And in the past, it's gone towards flyers for like the free electronics day that happens in the city. Electronics pickup day, I should say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a question. Can you explain, in the personal service line, assistant to mayor for youth and what's that? Neighborhood. Okay, thank you. I didn't know. Neighborhood affairs. Can you explain what, that person does? And then what's the difference between that and the secretary to the mayor?
Sure, yep. So the assistant to the mayor for youth and neighborhood affairs was created a few years back. Grace Doherty used to be in that role. She left a few months ago for a different position, but we've just actually recently filled it with Madeline Chantillo. And I held that role previously too, so I can give you as much information as you want on it. But generally, it's just a lot of constituent services. The person typically attends neighborhood meetings, relays questions and concerns from residents, and make sure that they get to the right departments. They'll work with the Parks Department on the youth programming side to the extent that they need support getting the word out. They have acted as the liaison between the city and the school district in capacities that make sense. The CARES backpack program that I was talking about, kind of a whole host of things. And then the the secretary to the mayor is Megan Hanrahan's position. So she sits at the front desk right when you walk into the mayor's office. She answers the phone. She does the mayor's calendar and scheduling. Also handles a lot of constituent calls and services. Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I guess I like further discussion on the movement of you the moving it over the youth programming over to CDBG budget. My understanding is that money really has been flat, or it hasn't really increased in terms of from the federal government. So things have been, I presume, displaced by moving this funding over to that line. I'm still hearing about the literacy group and such.
Not that I'm aware of that. The literacy group, I think, there was like a miscommunication on the application deadlines. So I don't think, like, they certainly weren't funded, and then their funding decreased because we're pulling resources for CARES from there now. It was more just that when we first started partnering with CARES on the backpack program, it was pretty small, and we were funding it. Our funding support was pretty small too, but it's just grown and grown every year. So now I think they're giving out more than 1,000 free backpacks and school supplies. It seemed to make more sense to come from from our federal HUD money than it did the mayor's office. It's also goes through the CDAC process that way, and it's just CARES gets their application in every year, and is kind of a more predictable in some ways way to fund that program.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm sorry, I had another question. And professional services, I'm sorry, I have ice in my mouth. Professional services, why is it overspent? If we're adopting it at 1,000 and then adjusted, like what?
So my understanding on that line is that we've used it in the past to support grants that might not fall directly into any one department. So last year we used that line for the Creating Healthy Schools and Community grant that provided for pedestrian upgrades. And then I guess there was no other way to intake that grant money and be reimbursed for it. So it came out of the mayor's office budget because it didn't really fall into another department specifically.
So what happens this coming year if that happens? What, because you're still estimating it at $1,000. Like what happens if,
Yeah, so we're not looking to increase that this year. I believe if we had to accept another grant, we would go to council for it. Is that
Yeah,
right, Chuck?
if you have to accept a grant, you would they would come to council and say, we need to accept a grant. We're going to put the expenses in this line and the revenue would be in this line.
Yeah, so was the Healthy Schools grant was that 2024? Is that the like $19,000 or well, 18,650, or was it that the 2023 60 some thousand?
I want to say that was last year. So it would have been,
2023.
um,
Well, it's okay.
we're in 2024 now.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'd have to check.
but this has happened more than once. That there's some sort of grant or program that ends up going this line.
Yes. Yep.
I'm the budgetary ask in personal services is an increase for you. I'm not going to make you have to sing for your own supper here. We did receive an email from the mayor with his testament to why the increase is deserved. I think we all had a chance to review that. I don't know if there's any questions or concerns about that, or if anyone wants to put Megan on the spot.
Oh, I mean, I liked the email that the mayor said about you. I do think though that there were some things in that email that were just kind of a little shady, nothing towards you. But, I do think that some of the things that he said in that, and I'll talk to him about that were a little shady, but no, he spoke very highly of you and all the work that you do. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to ask questions or if I can help at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. I
Okay,
mean, it's
Councilman.
not huge amounts of money, but I'm just curious. So the personal services, the longevity, does that go to the secretary of the mayor based on time because they're the CSEA employee?
Yeah, that's correct. I think she's been with the city 20 years.
Okay.
Okay. And then down for printing special events, $250. Why is there, if you already have promotions and marketing, why do you have $250 for printing for special events?
Yeah, so that's not, my understanding of that line is like, that's not our like typical printing that we use. It's like more for like engraving or awards. So if the mayor has to go to an event to recognize a community member, kind of like specialized printing. I don't think we've used any to date this year, but have in the past, just as a way to recognize different community members.
I hear what you're saying, but I was at an event where he gave an award to the owner of the Black Bears, and according to this budget line, there's 0 in it. So is that really what it's used for?
Was it just like a proclamation?
It was a plaque that was all engraved and everything for the owner for bringing hockey back to the city when they won and did the big celebration for the championship.
So the standard proclamations we print from our office, and we have like either a folder or a like frame that they go into, and that's just like our office printer. But like in the past administration had like keys to the city, so it would be like specialized things like that we
Okay.
could
I mean,
not.
he did mention at the event he was going to get one for them. So,
I
okay.
don't know that we've done any keys to the city so far in this administration, but that's what it would be used for. Like
Okay.
anything that we can't do in the office.
Okay.
I wanted to make a suggestion. I see here, and here you guys have a larger budget for NICOM and travel and training. I would suggest when we go into the city council budget, that city council does get more of a budget, and council and training, you know, you guys have that. What? Yes, for training, especially for new city council members. So that's just a suggestion. I'll talk about that later.
We're going to get there. Anybody else?
Motion to move pages 17 and 18.
Motion to move pages 17 and 18 by,
I'll
do you want
second.
to just, okay, I was gonna say, all right. Motion to move pages 17 and 18 by Councilman Costi, seconded by Councilman Dundon. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I I would like to keep them open, just so that we can review pages 52 and 96, because I think they have some related lines, and I think it's worth keeping it open just for the sake of discussion.
Would you withdraw your motion, Mr. Costi?
I'll withdraw my second.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, so let's move to page 52 first.
Okay, so 52 is the municipal association dues. This line covers the annual membership fees for the New York Conference of Mayors and the US Conference of Mayors. And it's staying flat next year.
Megan, I saw that there's also another line on within the mayor's budget, for NICOM. Oh, is that just travel? It's not membership?
Yes, I believe that's
Okay.
like travel to NICOM conferences and trainings, and this is our actual sub dues and memberships. I'm not sure why they're split out like this.
It just seems like a weird artifact that it's on its own separate page. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
So the annual membership for the New York Conference of Mayors is 8,508, and it's not somehow split between the other line that's in the mayor's.
I'm sorry, say that again, Councilman.
So is that like the total annual fee for the New York Conference of Mayors is 8,508? Is that accurate?
That's my understanding is that's just the membership fee and that separate travel and training line.
Just to actually go to the conferences?
Yes, yep.
So I'd like to point out the city used to pay for membership to Sister Cities International. We do have 3 sister cities, and the city no longer pays for membership for Sister Cities International.
Was it in this?
It's not in this year. I don't know. I think it went out sometime during Rich David's administration, so which is quite long, but yeah.
Is the mayor typically the only person that goes to the conferences, or do you?
I've not attended them. I've always gotten the invite. I've just not been able to make them work. But I think other department heads, depending on what the topics are at the conferences, are extended the invites to, whether it's planning or economic development.
Yeah, I know the clerks.
Uh,
I just remember the clerks had went to a conference. I can't.
I was gonna say,
With
know the
NICOM, I
contents,
think.
but-
the entire village of Owego trustees get sent to NICOM.
And what do we get out of the US conference? What comes with that membership? Is that?
It's similar to the New York Conference of Mayors, where it's like an advocacy group, but their conferences are I think they're based in DC normally, but it's just national priorities rather than statewide.
Thank you.
Any other questions on page 52? All right, let's move to page 96, please.
Okay, this is the celebrations line for community events. This line is used to support or sponsor different events in the community. In the past, we've done Porchfest. It supported the MLK Day event, the Binghamton Pride Coalition fireworks show, just a sponsorship line.
I was gonna say, how is this different than the economic development line with sponsorships?
I think it's just another funding source to support events. I don't know. I think we obviously don't duplicate events. So the Pride Coalition, for whatever reason, has come to our office in years past to look for funding. We work with them on the flag raising downtown. So I think there's just sort of that natural connection there. Same thing with the MLK Day event. They've typically liaison through our office. So it's just another way to support those community events. It does get used up pretty much every year.
well, I was gonna say, I know we've talked about it, but, for example, the Pride flag raising, council didn't get an invite to it, this year. I did talk to the organizers to let them know to reach out, but it seems like things that are funded by the city that council should receive an invite.
Our office doesn't we don't organize any of the events, so we don't handle the invitations. Typically, it comes through the organizers, but that
But
would be
if
the
you-
best way.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but if specs get invites, we're still not invited to those either. Like, so if there are any things that are through the city, we still don't get invites to those either.
I'm just saying that none of these are typically like city organized events. So that the invitations
They're
would,
city sponsored events.
correct.
Right,
We should,
Right.
so we should be invited to.
right.
I
Putting
would
it
say
out
you're
there.
welcome to attend all of them, but the invitations typically happen through the organizers.
We would attend if we knew.
My last question would be like, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but like, this is, what gets sponsored is at the sole discretion of the mayor, pretty much.
I would say so. It's typically different organizations or groups reaching out to us and saying they have a need for funding or they need some help to make an event work. So that's this line is so the community events can happen year after year.
So there's no formal RFP. No, like, it's not a general call to the community that are looking for sponsorship, that.
No, but I would
that we're
say if
willing-
anyone, just as Sarah Glows did, like if anyone is interested, just have them contact our office. The earlier the better, obviously. But there's funding available to support these community events, so.
Megan, by any chance, could you tell me how much was spent towards sponsorship and how much was spent towards the general liability insurance out of that amount?
So I think, excuse me, I think we just generally, we just give a general sponsorship and what the organization chooses to use it on. Normally, they'll tell us we need this to help with marketing or the specific part of the event. The Pride Coalition always comes to ask us for support for the fireworks show specifically. But it's more of just general operational support for the event.
There was kind of tangential to that. There was a discussion of some bits of discussion about having the city's insurance policy be able to cover smaller scale events to relieve some of the small community groups or groups that can have things in parks of a certain size, kind of within a small scope covered by the city somehow or with a minimal fee, rather than having to go out and get a special policy and everything. Has that moved anywhere? Is that something that's
In terms of liability insurance?
yes?
Yeah, so I think that would be a discussion with the Office of Corp Counsel in terms of like what coverage we would be requiring different community events to have and what we'd be willing to waive, I guess, from a liability perspective.
Well, it was not so much a waivers, I think, is having some ability to bring a certain size or certain types of events just kind of under our umbrella. As a matter, again, instead of forcing, a group of 15 people that are technically event to go and get a separate liability policy. But,
Yeah.
as a service, as something as maybe a worthwhile expense for the city to undertake. But yeah, we can continue to have that discussion elsewhere. Councilman Porter.
Was wondering, does the most organizations do their own marketing? Do they do their own marketing? Their own ones, their sponsorship?
Yes, yes.
So they do their own marketing and it's through your sponsorship, correct?
So I guess
So my question is, why is there a budget for promotion and marketing if they do their own marketing?
So that promotions and marketing line can go to help them support their marketing that they do, or,
But they're doing their own marketing, so.
but like there's a cost required for to print flyers or do social media ads or. Like it's not, are you asking, does the city run their marketing?
Yeah, basically, or.
Yeah, no, we
yeah.
don't. So I think that's why they have a need for marketing support
Okay, so you support their marketing.
with the funding. And then, yeah, some of the other funding here, like the community event celebration line would just go to general operations.
I was just thinking, I was sitting here thinking, I'm looking at promotions and marketing. And then your community events, and you do, what you're doing is for sponsorship. I'm thinking, are they just one? How come not put them together?
The lines,
Yeah,
yeah.
Why
I
separate?
suppose you could, yeah.
I mean, why separate?
I think there's
And
that,
then
that
asking-
distinction
and then
between,
Asking for 5,000 on top of another 10,000.
so I think there's a distinction between like supporting the operational expenses and the marketing expenses. So like the marketing line this year, was used to like get the word out about the upcoming police exam. So that's a case where that wasn't a, I guess, outside event. But the free electronics day, printing the flyers for that.
So the things are not necessarily celebrations that you're
It's just kind of
needed
getting
to
the word
promote
out.
somehow. Okay. And then I think some of the other ones are it's the equivalent of a small business buying an ad in, the Porchfest program or something. It's the city showing sponsorship and support.
Okay.
And getting out word, I think. Anybody else? Councilman Middleton.
I just want to say, Megan, like I said, I think you're doing a good job. And just to reiterate what Hadassah said, you guys you have events, please invite us. That's all.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to on page 96, line A7550.54732, the community events line, make a motion to reduce it by $5,000.
Motion by Councilperson Hotchkiss to reduce line A7550.54732 community events by $5,000. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Councilman Porter. Is there discussion on the motion?
Am I allowed to discuss the motion or is it just council?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I would just urge council to think about the impact of that, and that funding's going directly to the Pride Coalition. In years past, it's gone to the committee that puts on the annual MLK Day event. This year it went to Porchfest. These are typically small organizations that rely on this funding. It's a small amount of funding, but it makes a difference to them, so.
But I just a quick question to that. Would it make a difference? Because if we vote to reduce it, it's still gonna help the same amount of people so you're saying that the money that we're gonna incur in this budget, the $5,000, it's going to help more people or the same amount of people, or what's that like?
If you cut it, it will be able to support fewer organizations. We would have to make decisions when these organizations come to us next year. It would just be a smaller pool of funding, and we'd have to probably say no to some organizations or cut what the city has given them in the past.
Here we spent $9,300. You're gonna cut it down to $5,000. There's $4,000 that's not going to somebody next year that asked for it.
Yeah, my thinking here is that there's probably some bias within the mayor's office about which events get funded. So I was thinking about creating a city council line for community events for people that approach us and then would otherwise not get funded.
And,
That's
and I'm sorry, and I just wanted to cut that off. I'm not, someone correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't, Sarah Gloss's department do the same thing? So it can still be, like, the people can still receive the funding, just not out of the mayor's office.
You're just looking to move the funding to a line that city council would control.
There's $85,000 in the contingency line, so why would we cut this line by $5,000 that goes to community events? I hear all the time there's nothing to do in Binghamton. Why would we cut this line where there's a lot of good organizations that could use this money when we have $85,000 in contingency? If you want to make a line, go for it.
I understand that. What I'm saying is that we still have another department that does the same thing.
Plus, I'm looking at the promotions and marketing, and why not take that?
Where?
Promotions and marketing. That's why I mentioned why both can't be the same and why not both.
I have a question. I don't know if this would be you, Megan, or you, Corp Counsel. If we drop that to 5,000, where does that put us with the general liability insurance? Would we not have enough to cover that part of the budget line?
Chuck?
It's not our general liability.
Yeah.
It's the
Organization.
organizers that the 15 people, they have to get general liability insurance in order to do the event. So they can either use this money for their sponsorship and like buy flyers or what have you, or they can use it to buy their insurance so they can actually have the event.
Oh, okay.
So basically we're just going to cut half the people and we're just going to cut them in half.
Again, that's why I was thinking promotions and marketing,
We're going to,
but I could be wrong. I mean,
This money seems to get spent every year. It's not like it's going to waste. I just don't see the point in doing this.
And I would just say if there are organizations or events that council wants to support.
I already did that and was denied, so.
With the Hispanic
Yep.
Heritage Month event, that was like a week and a half's notice. So I think just typically like just doing it earlier in advance. And these are normally events that don't charge a fee for community members to attend, and it's an associated nonprofit that it's going to. So I'm happy to talk about that further, but if that's the only example, I would urge you not to cut $5,000 from this for that reason.
If I'm understanding what's going on, which I guess that it kind of goes back to that lack of like an RFP type of a thing, like that transparency and invitation for everyone to be able to have equal access. So I think that's the value. If I'm reading the room here, that's the value that the concern is on.
I'd rather have there be a transparent protocol for people to apply for some type of sponsorship rather than just have it be at the discretion of the mayor, because I think things get left out and a lot of people don't know that the city could sponsor these events. I don't necessarily want to be responsible for managing small events that approach council, but it's just like I don't see another way right now for opening this up to other organizations.
Yeah,
It's at like the discretion, so there isn't like I get what you're saying.
If there was a Democratic mayor, would you be doing this?
What? What are you talking
would just
about?
say like, just come to our office or have the organizer come to our office. We hear from people all the time in the community who need support for these events. So I would urge council members, if you know of an organizer that needs an event sponsored, or if they need support. So far, that's the only one that I have heard.
there's been plenty of them that has been wanting to ask for help.
Well, as council members, I would urge you to pass that along to our office in the city and connect them with the resources that are available.
Most definitely, I will. But just to reiterate on what you said, Councilmember Costi, I don't think it has anything to do with a political party. We're just trying to make sure that things are equal for everyone. But you know what that means, right? Okay.
I think one thing out of this discussion that we can do is we can make sure we take people to the mayor's office
Of
and you could
course.
please forward all invites that are
Yes.
sponsored by the city to us. And we could start that as a building block on working on some
Yes.
things.
Most definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I've said many times that I think it's one of the city's responsibilities to help small events grow and flourish and find interesting, encourage interesting things to happen. And sometimes it's a little bit of seed funding here and there that can make that happen. I am certainly, obviously, we're all aware the city has very limited resources. I am fine finding a way to create a slightly larger pool or another pool of funding for this sort of thing, but I also don't begrudge the mayor's office some discretion to spend some money in the way they see fit. So I think we should try and grow this a little bit, and perhaps find other avenues for access. But I don't think that we should particularly cut this amount. But I absolutely also echo Councilman Tendon in saying that, yeah, invite us to stuff and we'll be sending requests your way. I think that's sort of my feeling. Any other discussion on the motion? No other discussion. Okay, so motion by Councilman Hotchkiss, seconded by
By me,
Councilman Porter. Sorry, it's been too long, right? Sorry, to cut,
again.
to reduce line A 7550.54732 community events by $5,000 from $10,000 to $5,000.
And then I'm sorry, before we vote on this, where's that money gonna go into contingency?
It goes to contingency like
Okay.
any other moved money. Would the clerk take the roll?
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton,
Um. Uh. Aye.
Council President Matavetsky,
Another question.
I'll go nay.
Another-
Councilmember Dundon,
Nay.
Councilmember Costi,
No.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Nay.
Thank you. That is 3-4.
I'm sorry, I had another question about that, even though that didn't pass. If it did, what would you do? Like you said, we wouldn't be able to help out certain orgs for that.
Yeah, if you cut funding to that line, it would just be fewer, it would be less funding available for the organizations that need it.
But again, the promotions and marketing.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said, but then again, you still have the promotions and marketing, but okay.
It's true, but I
I'm
do
just
think
saying,
that-
you got the promotions and marketing, but of course,
Which is also being used though. It's still a funding cut.
but this already, the marketing has been told that it's already being done by the organization, but not so much by you. But, okay. All right.
Okay, any other questions or any motions perhaps?
Motion to move pages 17, 18, 52, and 96.
Motion to move pages 17, 18, 52, and 96. Motion by Councilman Costi. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Hotchkiss. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember
Aye.
Middleton, Council President Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon, Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 7-0.
Thank you very much, Deputy.
Thank you.
Okay, next we will have down Corporation Counsel Sophie Bergman to present the Corporation Council budget, risk assessment budget, and their fee schedule. So open pages 29, 30, 213, 214, and 228, please. Right, yep. Everyone has a different view now.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Didn't have to commute far.
Would you like to go over your budget summary with us?
Sure. I had sent this out to council earlier. Can I offer you a cough drop?
Are you okay?
Okay. I have some extra. Yeah, so as you can see in my budget breakdown, I manage the law department as well as the risk line. So I'll start with the law department. Our office is unique, I think, in the city in that we are, other than the mayor's,
Microphone.
can you hear me? Our office is unique in that I think our office is one of the few offices, I think, other than the mayor's office that interacts with every single department in the city. So we serve as counsel, not only to city council and the mayor, but every department head and every employee theoretically in the city of Binghamton. And I sent council a list of everything that our office handles, sometimes on a daily basis. When I started in January, it was just me and another attorney. So there were only two of us in that office. And as you can imagine, fielding that whole list of items that we have to handle was challenging. And luckily, since that time, in the last 8 months, I've hired 2 additional attorneys. And finally, as of September 30th, our office is at full staff. Why is that important? Because the city has a fiduciary duty to the citizens, the taxpayers, the residents to minimize risk and costs to the city. And the best way to do that is to have a fully staffed corporation counsel office. I can go over the specific financials of that in a moment, but as far as salary, we are asking for a proposed increase. If you look in the budget, I outlined a chart between what we make now and what we're asking for, as well as the county pay scale. So we're just trying to equalize the salaries so that one of the staff members that I worked hard to get for our office that serves the city doesn't walk across the parking lot to work for the county attorney's office, the public defender's office, the DA's office, all of whom are hiring currently. Not to mention, we're also up against the fact that the assigned counsel rates have been increased from $75 an hour to $150 an hour. So we're also fading with people that are going out on their own to make a better dollar for dollar and maximize their hourly billing rate. So if you look at what I make, our office is asking for a total $120,000 salary increase. If you, so I make now about $70 an hour. I'm asking for a $15 an hour increase to $85 an hour. If I left to replace me in a conservative estimate, you'd be paying somebody to handle the work that I do, $200 to $300 to $400 an hour. So to fill my position, it would be about $350,000 a year, which, outweighs our increase by 3 times. So, I mean, it's basic math at this point, I think, as far as our salary increase. Importantly, it's not just the attorneys, it's also our paralegal and our secretary. The paralegal position at one point was vacant for about 6 years. And it's a crucial position in our office. They handle a lot of the workers' comp, the 207 A and C claims, which are similar to workers' comp for police and fire, handles the intake of all the notices of claims, keep a running list of all the claims against the city and the notices of claim that are filed. And it's really a crucial position. And the amount he makes now is really not even comparable to any paralegal that I know of that's employed in the county. We're looking to get him to the proposed number in the budget, which is about a $10,000 increase, but brings him on par with similarly situated paralegals of that experience. Retention of staff to avoid turnover. and the cost of hiring and retraining not only reduces outside counsel fees, but creates a good workflow in our office and makes sure that we don't lose people with the experience and the knowledge of the city. I don't just want to retain my employees. I want them to want to stay. I don't want them to just not leave. They should want to work, be happy to come to work and feel like they're being paid, commensurate with other similarly situated individuals for the work that they're doing. Also, if you look at the amount of money that was transferred last year, as I said, when I asked for the money to be transferred for outside counsel fees, last year it was about $1.4 million. This year, we haven't even, with outside counsel fees and settlements, crossed the threshold of $600,000. So you can see in 8 months, I've saved the city almost 50% by not only myself and my experience in the cases I'm able to handle, but by hiring competent staff who can manage the office and decrease those large outside counsel fees for the city. Now, there are always going to be cases where we need people with niche experience, like the eminent domain case, like there are certain niche pieces of federal litigation that come up, and I'm never going to be able to promise that we will be able to save the city that much money every year because we just don't know what's going to come up. But like I said, the best way that we can and council can abide by their fiduciary duty to the taxpayers is to make sure that we have a fully staffed office. And we do right now. And I attribute that to the way I run the office, the fact that people want to work there, and we've trained them and equipped them with the knowledge, and we've hired people with the experience to handle the tasks that the city has for our office. We also don't get paid overtime. So if you look at, I don't think a week goes by when I work only the hours that I'm paid for. I'm at almost every city council meeting. Our office handles planning commission meetings after work at 5:15 once a month. There are zoning board of appeals. We make sure the work gets done. So I don't know if you knew that we didn't get overtime. So every minute I sit here after having worked a full day, that's just what I'm willing to do for the city. So I really just kind of came out swinging in the salary portion. Does anybody have any questions on that?
So you grabbed your numbers, you said from the county. I asked HR for the ranges, which are not, I would say from what I received from HR for the band suggestions I was given, the two underpaid staff are your risk assessment paralegal and your secretary to corporation counsel. Everyone else is decently or at the high end of the bands that I was provided.
Where did you get those numbers from?
From our HR director.
So I'm giving you the
I asked, yeah, I know you got the county's numbers. He does his benchmarking, which is how we traditionally look at salary ranges in the city. So I'm throwing that out there for discussion. Doesn't mean we have to go in that direction, but you have your set of numbers and I'm bringing an additional set of numbers.
I would just remark that they're not my numbers.
Right.
They're the county's numbers.
County's numbers, right.
So that's what the county attorney makes. That's the scale for the public defender's office, for the DA's office, all of whom have vacancies. So like I said, it's not just about making sure our office is paid for the work that they do. It's that we retain them so that they don't walk across the parking lot to go work somewhere else. And then you're not just paying me $85 an hour or Bob, $70 an hour. You're paying somebody $200, $300, $400, $500 an hour to replace that work.
Full sets of numbers show risk assessment paralegal and secretary to corporation counsel are pretty severely underpaid.
I would agree with that.
And also I would say, into that, the county is bigger than the city of Binghamton. So it's a bigger scope. So with the numbers, just a quick question.
Sure.
I was looking up and some other city municipals that have corp counsel, and I think where we have Syracuse, I think that they're at 112,000.
103. Oh, yes. actually have Niagara Falls at 106,000 or the actual low number was 103,537.
And that's just for coming in, right?
And that's
just-
what Niagara, yeah.
Okay, which is kind of like the same
Right.
size.
Mhm.
Okay. Just wondering.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen or had a chance to research those numbers, but that's kind of apples to oranges. I mean, you're trying to retain the staff that we have here that lives in Binghamton, you know, when their opportunity is 100 feet away, you know, we're just trying to make sure that we're on parity so we can retain our staff to avoid the larger cost of outside counsel.
I mean, that's the case of all of the positions in City Hall,
Yeah.
right? Basically everyone's paid less than the county. At this point, I don't, it looks like the deputy mayor would like to jump in.
I will chime in if that's okay.
Welcome back, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice, so I'm sorry for all the throat clearing. But I would just,
Cough drop?
I have some in my pocket, actually. Thank you, though. I just can't overstate the importance of the Office of Corporation Counsel. And I know you all work closely with that office, so you get to see it kind of on a firsthand basis. But the interactions with city council are just like a very small percentage of the work that happens out of that office. They're obviously like on the front line of any litigation or potential litigation against the city, protecting the city against litigation. They do our lockdown laws, they help with code prosecution cases. It's just very real, like constituent service issues that matter to residents that you might not think about when you hear like attorneys upstairs. It's like they're on the front lines. And I think Sophie has done a great job building back that office and getting you know, a staff that kind of is able to keep up with the work. Thank you. And it's, I just want to put in that 2 cents from our administration that what Corp Counsel does touches every department and every part of the city. And it's vital for able to retain the staff that she's worked to get on hand. Sorry to.
Since you have more time in the building, I think, than I mean, certainly than Corporation Counsel. When's the last time Corporation Counsel office was actually filled and had full staff? And
Yeah, I can't even, I don't know. Not since you've been here, right? Have you been fully staffed?
Well, when I started, it was just me and another attorney. That was only in January. So I know Brian had been by himself for, well, him and Elizabeth for 2 or 3 years. I mean, that office has lost 10 attorneys in the last several years.
yeah, I would, yeah. So what does the actual attrition look like as is kind of a problem staffing?
Like I said, at least 10 attorneys in the last several years. I mean, we've had retirements, we've had people leaving for other better paying opportunities. There was an attorney that left last year for that reason. Brian left for that reason. I don't want to speak for him. That's my understanding. But I mean, you know, you certainly don't want to lose people that have the familiarity with the city and the experience to handle matters. I mean, I can tell you what everybody in our office does on a daily basis, the types of cases that we handle. It's a very challenging job in that you have to be able to pivot to numerous areas of law quite quickly. I mean, I've been an attorney for almost 17 years. So, you know, you're paying for that experience and I have significant trial experience. I mean, to find somebody in my position that'd be willing to work for, you know, $100,000, $125,000 when they could go to a firm or the county and make significantly more than that, you know, is challenging. But I live in this city. I mean, I'm a city resident. I love this city, you know, but I think you have to understand that our office's job is to minimize risk. And when we can't, to deal with the risk that we have at hand. And the only way you can do that effectively is to have a full staff that knows how to do the job. So, I mean, I handle most of the civil litigation because of my extensive trial experience and courtroom background. I deal with the administrative stuff. I handle all the civil litigation. I handle all the 50H hearings. I make the workers' compensation decisions, the 207A and C decisions. I sit on the boards of estimate and apportionment and contract and supply. I review all of the home loan program papers that provide home loans to low-income families. I handle all the labor relations, arbitration, grievance, the contract disputes with police and fire. I advise every single department head on almost a daily basis whenever a legal question comes up, and I'm always available to not only them and the mayor, but to council, as you guys know. I review all of the contracts before the mayor signs them, again, to mitigate risk. I draft legislation. I assist in drafting of legislation, and I answer any questions that my staff has for me. Do you want, I can go on and list everything that everybody.
I understand that too. I was just gonna say something, we're like public service, and we all know that public service does not pay, especially in these like local positions. It's different. Public service is totally different from the private sector. And like you said, like you want to help the community, but I would just add it in that those two are like totally different. Public service, you're not, it's more community, but we still have to feed our families. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, my staff has seen the budget, right? So like, it's public information. And I think that it's a simple math equation at this point. I mean, I'm telling you that we've saved the city hundreds of thousands of dollars by having a fully staffed office. So if you want to risk spending $350,000 because you don't want to give me a $15 an hour raise, I mean, that's just something you have to think about.
But Councilwoman Middleton, to your point, I would just, I agree with you. I think that that's the reason why Sophie was making that distinction with the county salaries. It's because there are other positions in the public sector that our staff in the Office of Corporation Counsel could leave right now and remain in the public sector and still be making more money. And that's what we're competing against. It's competing with
I
the private
understand that,
sector is
but
almost
there's
impossible.
there's literally people and employees that can barely make ends meet in this building. So I understand that. I'm just putting that out there, but there are people who work for the city day in and day out who are struggling. So I was just saying that. So I understood that, but I was just saying.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I can't comment on that, but again, it's a math equation. I mean, to pay somebody, if I left to pay somebody for the work that I do with the 17 years of experience that I have as an attorney and a litigator, you'd be paying $200, $300, $400 an hour versus my $85 an hour. And same with Bob, same with Ryan, same with Elizabeth. Not only that, you'd have to find somebody that's willing to fill that position. The county offices that are paying a higher rate have open positions. So they can't even fill the spots that they have. So that's why we're asking for some sort of parity so that we don't risk losing people and incurring that additional cost to supplement, to have an outside counsel attorney supplement the work that we've lost by losing attorneys to a higher paying job across the parking lot.
So in the last almost 10 months that you've been here now, what you've spoken generally about the extra work that you're doing. Is there a specific type of case that you're now bringing back in-house that was farmed out before, or?
So I'm able to handle most of the new civil litigation that comes in. Those are like the trip and falls. They are unique in a municipal setting because the statutes of limitations are different. You get kind of a pre-litigation hearing, and then once a case is filed, it's a long, complex process that it's not something you want to dip your toe into. Boscov's is the main thing that, like I said, we brought back in-house. That's a huge lease negotiation, a very complicated contractual matter that I have experience in that we're able to handle, and we could take back from an outside counsel attorney, again, who was charging the city $200, $300, $400 an hour. And that I can't even tell you the amount of hours I've spent on that. The Charles Street Business Park is another one. It's a very complex set of option contracts that are highly nuanced and factual, fact-based that, when you're writing and reviewing a contract, to have the context to be able to pinpoint certain areas that are potentially problematic and head off any potential risk or litigation is very important. I mean, I could probably think of more examples.
Sophie, I just had a quick question for you.
Sure.
You mentioned mitigate risk a few times. I'm just looking on your risk management page here. You're asking for 116% raise for legal services.
All right, so it's turning to page 213, 214 for Councilman Costi's question.
Okay. Sure. So, as you'll remember, we discussed when I had asked for money to be moved to pay for outside counsel fees. Historically, our office had only asked for a small portion of what they thought they would need for outside counsel fees. So that it wasn't over budgeted, and then they would come back to council as money was needed to move money to supplement outside counsel fees. So, as we discussed when I presented that, council had asked if I would present a realistic projection for the budget. And that's what I've done. So that's why you see that gigantic increase. I'm trying to give you a realistic estimate of what I think the cost will be.
But if we're mitigating risk so well, why'd we spend $192,000 in 2023?
See, that was
Let's say 2024.
No, it's 2023. He's got it right. It's 192,000.
I want to make sure I'm answering with the right question. You're looking at 54430.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I wasn't here in 2023. I don't know what was going on that year and what that money was spent on.
I mean, I guess my argument is we're saying we're mitigating risk really well. And this year we've spent $300,000. 2023, we spent 192, and now we're asking for $650,000.
A lot of that money was spent in the A1420 line because in 2023 it was $753,000.
Yeah, is there a distinction between to get to the total amount of outside counsel, you have to add
You'd have to add,
A 1420
right,
54430, right, on page 30. And
and the 192. So that's close to $1 million.
I think with odds and ends, it came out to over $1 million, I believe, in 2023. And we're on track for what now this year? 2024?
About 670,000.
So again, that's where Sophie's getting her $350,000 saved, and she's trying to hold it at that level next year.
Why would we move those lines around like that, though? Just a question.
What comes out of those lines, and why? I mean, why you weren't here in 2023? Why do we pick out of those particular lines? I think is
Yeah.
why did those particular costs come out of those particular lines, or how's that why is that decision made? The risk line versus the legal services line.
I couldn't tell you. That would probably be a decision that the previous administration made. I wouldn't know the reason why unless I could look and see why they did the purchase order in that line or what have you. Could have been a different attorney, could have been a specific reason, but I do not know. I could find out for you. Try to anyway.
So if it's the type of case that comes out of risk management budget, pardon me, rather than law budget, or is that a distinction you've making, or?
On page 29. No, I'm sorry, page 30. The way I understand it is that what line were you looking at? I have the line you're looking at on page 213. I don't know what line you're looking
The
at.
other lines on page 230, I'm sorry, page 30, legal services.
So the way that that I understand it is that that's for labor in 207, which apply to police and fire claims, and then legal services regarding workers' compensation. I don't know
I mean, obviously that was not what they did in 2023 with it.
if in
Right.
2020, they may have changed because we can change the italicized definitions.
Right.
So I don't know if it existed differently in the past, but that's what I put it in for. I don't know what it had been labeled as in 2023, because we can change that when we're entering our budget. So I mean, I can go line by line if you want and just tell you what everything is or what it's used for, if that's helpful, unless you have any specific questions.
I mean, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the kind of the lines you have in risk management for essentially payouts of various sorts.
I don't think that was the total. Sorry. I don't think so. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
What was the question?
So going down on the risk management budget, 213, 214, the essentially the lines you have set aside for payouts for claims.
Yeah, I mean, the insurance is our actual insurance. Those are the actual numbers for the bill.
Vehicle repair, demolition, emergency safety, and provision for incurred loss.
Yeah, so the city's self-insured. So I think this discussion has come up before, but that's a reserve that we have for when vehicles are,
Not city vehicles, but resident vehicles or something. So a plow hits a
I
vehicle.
think it
That's
is for city.
right.
That's fine. No, for the vehicle repair. Yeah, sorry.
So so I'm looking at M1910 544.50. So like if a plow hits a car and you agree to pay $3,500 to fix their fender, that would be that line.
That's for the insurance recoveries for vehicles. There's a insurance recovery line that we would get insurance from the people who hit our vehicles.
So if somebody ran into a garbage truck and we file a claim through their
Insurance
insurance,
company,
So it's a
there's an offsetting
we
revenue
have to fix.
there's an offsetting revenue.
in the insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And is that the
On page
same for
2.
demolition?
Same for demolitions.
Okay. So it's only the incurred loss line that is payouts, yes? Okay.
Correct.
And which you have moved down. Okay, this is a good one to discuss. We adjusted we adjusted out for specific payouts this year. They budgeted 100,500. It's a weird amount. We adjusted to 350,500. We've encumbered 269,000. And we decided to budget $100,500.02 next year. So did we adjust that up for a specific settlement? I can't. Or were we just running into a lot of little ones? I can't remember.
I think that was a function of there not be, I don't know why it went into that line, but the $300,000 projection in the other line, in the legal services line.
No, I'm talking about the incurred loss line.
I think that accounts for that inflated number.
There might have been some budget adjustments.
I mean, there was from 100,000 to 350,000.
Right, and
Yeah.
I can find out what those are for you and tell
Yes,
you why we did that. I mean, they'd be in the legislative database. I can find them for you.
Right, we're back down to 100,000.
Right, I mean, that was probably something that specially happened this year. And then,
Well,
Right. It
Yeah.
wasn't several small things that will happen again. It was one major, I can't, I'm not certain. We'll have to look.
No, I think it was, I mean, I know what it was, but I can't put it on the record.
Right, okay. But it's one big thing.
Right.
Okay. And this is the line that came from.
That's my understanding, yeah. But I placed a realistic projection as far as legal services. And that's why I've allowed the provision for incurred loss to remain the
To
same.
stay at last year's level. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts, feelings, questions, concerns? Councilman Porter? Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Yep, we'll give you a minute. I guess I will ask my, oh, okay.
So what I'm looking at here. Yeah, help me understand. Is that you're proposing for a total of 650,000 for legal fees? Or it's just,
That's the projection based on what we know to be existing cases that I think were existed before I started.
and altogether, you're between the personal services and your risk management of your personal services, it will be 571,852. So my question is, what are you doing with the other 78,000?
I'm not seeing that. I don't understand the question.
$78,148.
How are you coming up to that number?
Well, maybe again, I'm not an accountant.
No,
I'm not, you are.
just tell me the
Well,
lines.
I'm looking at your proposed budget of 422,074 for personal services and then 149 of 778. And I'm looking at where you proposing that your legal services altogether will be 650,000.
Councilman, what page are you on here? Are you on?
I'm actually looking at page 299. I'm looking at 51,000 or 5100.
He's looking at that.
The line, that's what I'm actually looking at, the line.
Okay.
Yeah, A14205100.
Okay. I'm sorry, I thought we were on the risk management pages.
And I'm looking at the risk management as well as the law. I'm looking at the law of A14205100. I'm also looking at the risk management M19105100. And then when I'm looking at the line of M19105440, that would be under your legal services, under your risk management.
Okay, and then just one more time, we got the lines now. Can you repeat the question?
Okay. You're asking a proposal for your risk management of legal services of 650, correct? 650,000.
Yes.
And then your personal service for the law is 422.74. And then under the risk management of personal services, 149.778.
Yes, because the positions,
Okay.
I don't know
Re-
why,
The
but this position split, the
The reason-
time is split between those two.
reason why, because I added up to the proposed, uh, proposed, uh, salaries, which comes up to 571,852.
right? And then you subtract the 650, you get 78,148.
Yeah.
But then you've got the $20,500 of legal services in the A1490. You need to include that in, subtract that, you're down to about $50,000. What's your question again?
What are
Wait,
you,
where's the $50,000?
where would that would go?
I'm still not following because these are different lines. It's, okay.
Okay. Let's walk through it.
Am I doing something wrong? I'm thinking I'm adding it up. I'm not an accountant, but I mean, my math is wrong. I mean,
Chuck is following, I think.
I'm,
I don't think that. I don't know why.
adding this all up. You want to put 650,000.
That's a different line. This line, this is the outside. That's
But
the,
this proposed,
right,
this is proposed. This is also proposed.
yeah, that's this number and
That number, right? That number, but then what is left over? He's saying I counted it with 78,000. Excuse me.
No, I don't. Okay.
I guess it's here this year.
What's there?
Two. Oh, I. Oh, why don't I do- Six. Four. Well. 824.
Councilman Hotchkiss, are we okay or should I?
I mean, well, okay. Well, looking at it. I apologize. I was looking at two different things. I realized where it was that the 650,000 of legal services outside.
That's
is
out.
the outside.
outside
Yes, outside counsel, and that's
That's outside.
$300,000 less than what they spent last year from the $1 million. That's the savings that she's putting in her budget.
Okay. But I just, okay. Yeah, I apologize. But I'm just thinking the savings that you're talking about and compared to the 650,000 is what's the I just look at it as meager savings, but okay. I think it's almost no difference, almost.
Well, last year's legal services were 750,000 in the A and 192, so about $950,000. And now we're only going to have 650. That's about $300,000 in savings that she's taken out of her budget, regardless of the salaries. for salary increases is not even half that. So there's still a savings overall.
Now, I'm lost on where you're referencing we spent one point something million. Where,
No, the 753,000 expended in 2003, a 1420-54430 on page 30. And then on page 213, a 1910-5434430 for 192.
So it's the two legal services lines between law and risk management. Together, they're decreasing.
Yes, together they're decreasing to about $670,000. That's the savings by having a fully staffed law department. Less outside services.
okay. And
So we're 10 months into this year on track to be around that $650,000 mark. So that's what's being included in next year. I think the administration's point would be if we lose one of our recently staffed up people, we'll have to farm more stuff out. Again,
Corp Counsel, how many months would you say you've been fully staffed this year?
Since September 30th.
So
So
you
not
did,
even a month.
so you did a lot of the cost savings actually not being fully staffed then.
I'd like to take credit for that, just working my tail off, but I mean, I'm hopeful we can save even more now that we have Ryan on staff too with his years of experience. I had to do the budget before we were able to hire Ryan. It was due, I think, in July. And we were always optimistic that we'd be able to hire somebody. We actually were able to hire somebody with quite a bit of experience. So I'm hoping that number will just decrease, that $650,000 number. But when we had an extensive discussion, when I asked for the money to be moved to pay for some bills at a meeting a couple months ago, you wanted a realistic projection. So that's what I put in there based on the numbers I had available at that time.
Well, I'd say I think I have faith that being fully staffed, we could save a little more. So I would like to move $50,000 out of legal services line M1910.54430.
Oh, second. Sorry, I have a piece of ice in my mouth. Hold on.
Councilman Denon had, oh, wait a minute. Need the right page. You.
213.
213.
Councilman Dundon has motion to move $50,000 and decrease line M1910.54430 legal services from $650,000 down to $600,000. Seconded by Councilman Middleton. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing no, well, I have one point, and it's just that, what? I'm the one that kind of asked for a realistic projection of outside legal costs, and I think that was done in good faith, but I also take Councilman Dundon's point that we might have a little more savings coming anyway, and that this money clearly can be restored later because we moved money into this line a bunch of times in the past. I think the comptroller might want to.
Yeah, I'd like to clarify something.
Yeah,
If you do move it to contingency, just so you know, you're not moving it to the general fund
it's
contingency.
M fund.
Yeah, you're moving to the M fund contingency. Okay, thank you.
So yeah, I don't know if you're aware of that. Okay,
Can you, sorry, explain M fund again?
it's the insurance fund. Do you want to?
Yeah,
Detail, yeah.
it's the insurance fund. It's the letters on the beginning, like M 14. 20, whatever. That's where we separate our funds. I think I think I sent out a description of the funds
did.
to city council. So the M fund, that's where we do the insurance and the risk management portion for the city. And it's funded through interfund transfers.
Thanks.
Okay. Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk take the roll?
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton, Council President Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon,
Aye.
Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 7-0.
Okay, any other discussion or motions on the floor? Oh, we haven't looked at the fee schedule. Page 228, please. Oh, Counselor, this is a big one, right?
It's the notary fee that's not changing. It's just staying the same at $2 for document.
So New York has a digital notarization process. Has there been any discussion of implementing that option in the office?
We typically only notarize like internal documents or documents that we're signing. As far as like in the daily course of our business, we have explored that. If an employee is remote or something like that, I think we'd be equipped to handle that.
Okay. Do you actually ever charge this $2 fee? I mean,
As far as our office, I cannot recall that ever happening.
okay. Would you even know how
As far as
to collect it and turn it into the clerk's office?
I mean, I think we could discuss that. I don't
I
know.
can't-
Generally, the stuff that we notarize is like, for me, when I'm filing something for a civil litigation matter or for another attorney, when they're filing court documents, we don't typically notarize public documents as far as the notaries in our office.
Okay. Has anyone ever wandered in from trying to file something with city court and asked, is there a notary in the room or?
Not that I can recall
Okay.
not that I've been present for.
I'm sort of wondering why it's even in the books, but
You know, it's not changing, so it probably
Right.
hasn't changed in the
Fair enough.
last 30 years. If it's only $2, I think banks charge like twice that at least.
oh,
For Chuck, can we move from one contingency to another? Or no, it's just, okay, just wondering.
okay. Any other questions or motions on the floor?
So
Wait in anticipation.
I'm thinking, okay, so this is what I am thinking. I completely understand the argument that you want to have salary increases to retain employees. I think every department in the city wants that. However, I think some of them are pretty lofty, and I think there's room for allowing raises while also reducing the amount that we're putting into this. And since we can't really go line by line into the salaries or the specific positions, I'm gonna think I'll make a motion to reduce the personnel services A1420.51000. This is on page 29, by $40,000.
you just repeat that line quick for me?
So it's the personnel services line, A 1420.51000. It's on page 29, it has all of the salaries in it. Right now, I think the overall increase is $200,000, around $200,000. I'm saying that you can still have a large increase and reduce it by about 40,000, and that'll allow for salaries to increase.
If
while-
I just make me
Yep.
point of information, part of that increase is the 85,000 moving out of the old ARPA line up.
The actual salary increase is only 120,000.
Right, because they've hired, a lot of those, few of those positions were empty last year.
Right.
So part of it is the hiring salary. And then also you have to realize part of these salaries are paid 50% out of the insurance fund. So you're gonna have to do this in the M fund as well. And it's gonna be a nightmare. And it has to be by person. You can't do it as a whole, because then you're leaving it up to me to make a decision on what salary is going back to base. That's not my job.
No, I don't
Does-
think you can amend, they can't amend the italicized line.
They can't.
I think we can with individual non-management tested personnel. I think isn't that the exception? You want to check the memo?
There's one management tested in there, I believe. It's the paralegal. And that union contract is under negotiation, so. Because that union, that goes with the negotiations with the CSEA union.
I'm sorry, that's which one?
The
The
paralegal.
risk assistant / paralegal.
Pointed.
So were the proposed increases for the risk assessment paralegal and the secretary to corporation counsel your estimates on what the union would negotiate for them? I guess I'm confused.
No, only the paralegal, because he's management tested. Everybody else is appointed.
So the secretary position, the 2025 salary that's put here is an estimate based on the guess for the union contract? I'm just not.
The paralegal.
No, everybody in there is appointed, so
Except for the paralegal.
except for the paralegal.
Secretary's appointed?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
It's unusual, but yes.
That's what was confusing me.
I would sort of guess that it might be a case where it wouldn't be weird for an attorney to come from an office where they had their own administrative assistant might bring them. So maybe I'm just a shot in the dark. That's why it's that way.
I understand.
Anyway.
No, only the paralegal.
Do we have clarity on whether we can do this line by line or we do it as a group, or we can or can't touch management tested?
I just, because I think I missed this, I just want to make sure that, given that motion, council knows that the total proposed salary increase ask is 120, not 200,000. So that I think changes the difference that proposed 40,000 cut will make. Am I correct in that?
That's right. I think I didn't account for that position moving.
Okay.
However, we can still,
Mhm.
each of these positions can see either a $10,000 or $20,000 increase and have that line be reduced by $40,000. Which I think
Yeah, I
is,
just think that's a big difference. So
And it is a big increase as well. So,
But I understand the comparison that we keep going back to the county as the line that we're kind of basing things off of here. But is that our standard practice with other departments that we look at the county as opposed to the band range?
I wasn't following the numbers that you got from
So,
personnel.
yeah, so for corporation counsel, the range was 90K to 120K. For first assistant,
But,
it was
if I-
75 to
If I
95.
could, President Matavetsky,
Yeah.
where was Kent getting those from?
I assume the same way he gets all the other numbers that we get our benchmarks whenever we're looking at salary adjustments for anybody. It's like similar, yeah, I think it's similarly sized cities.
Okay.
Yeah,
When we looked at it, some of us looked at it, we looked at similar sized cities
Okay.
on what they make.
Okay.
Similar to.
I
size.
just want to make sure that we're consistent in how we determine salaries in the city, whether we're looking, we have our method and we apply it fairly and
But
across the
that
board.
doesn't necessarily make sense.
Yeah,
If the situation, because the market situation for different positions might be very different.
I think you could argue up, you could make an argument up, but taking the line in the sand of this and a different, which is not the way we've done it with any other position that I'm aware of. Just, I'm not saying that we can't come to a different number than this range. I'm just saying where our starting point is, we should be doing that in a standardized method.
Yes, so I agree that looking at comp cities is a good place to start. Yes.
Yeah, and I would agree with that too. I just think it's got to be on a case by case basis practically, because we're talking about the staff in Corp Counsel's office, losing them to other local positions. So from a practical standpoint, we have to be looking at what those other positions are paying. And that's not even, like I said before, not even in the private sector, because forget it, we can't compete with that, but just other public sector positions. Those are the positions that we'd most likely lose these employees to.
They do with, in the clerk's office too. They lost people too to the county too. Well, I mean.
Consistent across
Yeah,
the city.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, so this is, yes. I mean,
Yeah.
we're aware of this problem, right? We're working on trying to make salaries more competitive across the board, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean, just if I may, Corp Counsel is saving like $300,000. And I don't think 120,000 is unreasonable for her staff.
Yeah, and I would just, I know I'm repeating myself, but cost savings aside, it's the work that's happening there it's a critical office. It really does impact residents in ways that probably we were not thinking about with the legal department off the bat, but.
We do get the list of their activities and they notify us with all the legal actions and such, so some sense. We're grateful that communication is happening.
Sure.
I mean, I guess I'm going to put this on the record. Do I think maybe this could be a little towards the high side on their salary? Yes, but if you can cross the parking lot and we lose employees, you can go across the street, you can go around the corner to HHK. And this is the first time that this Corp Counsel's been fully staffed and anybody even knows. I mean, I struggle with wanting to take money from that. I really do. So I just wanted to put that on the record. I mean, do I think they're a little towards the high side? But at the same time, I mean, being a union guy, when you have a specialist, we make different amounts of money for the whatever specialties of jobs we can do. And to have every spot filled with, I'm assuming, the most capable people to want to stay retained and to earn this money, I don't think that's a bad investment than to have one attorney in there and then we're outsourcing everything anytime. We're outsourcing anything at such a higher rate that it's eventually costing us more money in the long run. That's just my opinion.
Okay, we're having a discussion. Technically, it's on the motion, but I don't think the motion can function the way it was proposed. It would, at least comptroller is saying you can't just, we would have to, if we are cutting, it would have to come partially from, proportionally from the law budget and the risk budget, depending on which salaries are proportioned with where, okay? And then we will have to do, I think, line by line without touching risk assessment. So would you withdraw your motion, please, so we'll discuss more?
I'll
Let's-
withdraw my motion, but I
Okay.
think the sentiment remains that we can still do pretty hefty increases for a lot of these positions for better compensation, but I think they're pretty high. That's
Okay,
Retainment often works well if you have consistent increases over time rather than just huge jumps. I think we want, as people continue to stay with us, we want to show that we value that.
I agree. I think we just have to get to the point where the salaries aren't so out of whack compared to other positions locally. And then those incremental increases year to year after that to retain become important. But if we're so far behind already, it makes it tough.
Definitely, especially with the city workers too. Like I don't want to say that because I'm not diminishing your talent, Sophia. I do think you work hard and I do understand that. But it's just, to me, when there are people who work in the city who don't make as much, and I understand that your accolades, and yes, you went to law school, I understand those things. But I just think that such a big increase in salary to me is kind of irresponsible. And I don't know how I feel about that. And it's nothing against anyone personally. It's just, to me, it's a big increase.
Just to clarify, a lot of the city workers do deserve more money, but it also depends on how well their contract negotiator
Oh,
is.
yeah, that's true.
And I'll put on the record, CSCA does not do a great job of representing their members.
I would also make a point that I don't know the last time that anybody in this office got a raise. So I know it wasn't.
Wait. Now I'm confused because and maybe I'm just straight confused, but the 2024 budget had the salaries much lower than what you have listed in your list. So that was a big raise. Like between,
All I'm saying is in the last 10 years, I don't know that there were step raises. I don't know how often that happened.
oh,
And
you mean outside of Corporation Council? Because Corporation Council's money went up just between 2024 budget and your listing here and what you're proposing here.
yeah, I mean, what you're saying and what Councilwoman Middleton just said was, one of you said that
Wide, yeah.
there should be step increases. And the only point I'm making is in the last 5, 10, 15 years, I don't know what the step raises were for any of the city employees and certainly not for Corporation Counsel's office. So the only point that I'm trying to make here is that, as Councilman Dundon said, we're trying to hold these salaries at parity with other similarly situated opportunities within the county and retain our staff to avoid having to outsource this work for hundreds of, if not thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of more dollars. I mean, and I think I've said that a number of times. I'm not going to keep saying it, but I mean, we have a great staff. We've been fully staffed for 2 weeks now, and we have a really good staff and they deserve to be paid on parity with the county staff, in my opinion. And that's why we're asking for these raises.
So I think you might be doing a double hit since you've already taken $50,000 from outside legal services. And now the proposal is to reduce the salaries in the hopes that people stay. And if they do leave, that's going to increase your outside legal costs.
respectfully, they're still getting salary increases. They
Well,
would be.
yeah. Not totally in.
Right. So I'm just like writing this out. I think you could get this done by having a corporation counsel with a salary of 135,000, first assistant corporation counsel at first assistant corporation counsel at 115, assistant corporation counsel at 90, assistant corporation counsel, prosecutor code at 90. And then you don't touch what you have proposed for risk assessment or the secretary, they'd be getting the up to 52 and 44. So, yeah, I can't touch that anyways. So that's kind of how I see it. I think you're still getting $5,000 or $15,000 increases. I think
And-
that's fair.
And then next year, we see that we kept outside counsel low and all of that, then come back and ask for more.
What happens if we can't retain any of them? Then what do we do? Sophie, can you remind me what you're currently making an hour, you said?
It's about $70 an hour. And the proposed increase just for my position would be to $85 an hour.
And we can't guarantee retaining them even with the raise or not. You can't guarantee retaining anybody.
But there are known facts, right?
Yeah,
So
I
like,
know
you
that.
could make $150 an hour doing assigned criminal and family court work. You know, you could go to the county attorney's office, the DA's office, the public defender's office, and this is the pay scale that they use. So looking at all of the other opportunities that are available and the cost of outside counsel per hour fees, which far exceed my proposed $85 an hour, that's the argument we're making. And we have a really, really great staff, and it would be great to be able to retain them. We're lucky to have them. I'm lucky to have Ryan and Elizabeth and Bob and Mary Grace and John.
So we were at the actual pay increase is $120,000 spread across the whole department. Correct?
Yes.
Am I doing my math right?
Yes, part of it's in the insurance fund and part of it's in this fund.
Right. It ends up to being $120,000. If we exclude touching the raises for the folks that we all seem to have an agreement that are very, very underpaid, being the paralegal and the secretary of corporation counsel, they're getting $9,000 apiece. So the amount the raises being spread amongst the attorneys essentially is $102,000. I'm just throwing that out there. No,
There's
it's 9
about
and 9. I
a
think.
$10,000 proposed increase for the paralegal and the secretary.
Or different than that.
Each.
No, 40. 92. I think it's 9 and 9. Yeah, 18,000. So 120 down to 102.
Chuck, just to clarify too, if there was a decrease, this doesn't go into the general fund, does it?
What do you mean a decrease? Like if you guys gonna motion?
If that were to happen, yeah.
Yeah, it would go into contingency, just like
In the general fund.
in the, well,
The part,
the A part. would go in the general fund, and then the insurance portion of those
Go in the-
salaries would go into the insurance
Okay.
contingency. Right. And just so you know, the risk management salaries and everything that's in that risk management, they get allocated to all the funds. I didn't know if I mentioned that earlier, not just the general fund. I think we had discussed that earlier when I talked about unallocated insurance. So,
Which includes like the water fund and the sewer fund and the refuse fund, right, are contributing legal. So the paying a legal freight, so to speak,
Right.
comes not just from the general fund.
right. But if you, it's still going to be in the contingency in the insurance fund. So it's all rolled up into one. It won't change.
I guess, is there general support for this, the idea of this motion? So that it's worth trying to figure out how to actually achieve it? And just, is that, any feedback would be,
How I
Well,
decide to
from
vote, I
council.
will not speak on the floor until I vote.
I still would argue that that proposed 40,000 is too high if you're, particularly if you're basing it off thinking that it was a $200,000 increase. That is that's a big difference that would have an effect.
So if you're looking at it percentage wise, right? So 40 off of 200 would have been a 20% decrease in the raise pool, if you will. So if we're looking at 120,000, that would be 24,000 difference instead of 40. And if we subtract the 18,000 that's going to the paralegal and the secretary, then you had 102,000 increase, 20% of which would be $20,400. Is that right?
And I don't think you can do the italicized lines. It would have to be just the general line. And it would have to be equal between the personal services on the A and the M lines. And the M line only covers 4 of the staff members. For the fund balances, be equalized.
Right. You'd have to keep it equal between the two funds. For the fund balances, we get a little off.
Disproportionately impact certain staff members.
I propose a 5-minute recess to do a little math and take a bio break here and see if we can get our thoughts a little clearer.
I'll second.
Motion by me, second by Councilman Middleton. Any discussion? All in favor of a recess?
Aye.
5 minutes, thank you. Head hurt.
Everybody's spoken. No here in the meeting.
That's what I like.
What side can I go?
Purple rain.
I always took two, I should go with the left. I don't think so, I gotta go with the one. Oh. Talking about a storm, before storm conditions, this now, they could, you can wear G5 or something to the way. No, I'm talking about the storm.
And then the 0 and a quarter counts. Everybody do it right. Dan was worried about the Horton.
Huh?
Dan was worried.
Yeah.
He missed it. Then you could try to help out with control. City council. Office.
Yeah.
It's a certain amount of understanding. Every week. That's what you're on. Anything to the point. Starting to think about it. You would appoint us in a way that helps us with the profit, especially with the budget. I didn't necessarily see it. I saw it. I didn't mind it, but I also saw it as a problem too. So, I see it would have been beneficial. But to have him, that he wanted to control the caucus. And that was the issue that we were having. That we were all having. I can consider it. Yeah, there was only a few of us that did that. I had a problem with it. I admit to that. I was kind of like, but I think I had most of it. I agree that it might have been a problem. Right there on your district. Let me see.
Bridget, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. See that? Can you see that? So pretty. Excuse you.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Hope everyone got a little breather and did some thinking and some mathing maybe. Has anyone reached a point where they want to make a further motion or question, or do we want to move on and hold these pages?
I think I would like to do just a little bit more research on a few things. I don't know how everyone else feels, but
Okay,
Yeah.
so all we have to do is not make a motion to close the pages.
I'll make a motion not to close.
Well, no, just
Oh.
don't make a motion.
Oh,
All right.
I want to give a little update.
Okay.
Okay, so I broke down the salaries by the percentage of which line they come from. And I think, yeah, it's not that hard. Like this is what I would like to see happen. I would reduce corporation counsel to $130,000, and that would be minus 15,000 from what was being asked. And then we would
Can we do it as an up direction rather than a down direction?
So that would be a $15,000 increase. The first assistant would be getting a $25,000 increase. Assistant corporation counsel would get $10,000. Assistant corporation counsel, the code prosecutor would be up to 90, and they would get $10,000 increase. The paralegal would get the $9,000 increase, and the secretary to corporation counsel would get a $9,000 increase. You can do that by reducing the A142051000 line by $30,000 and reducing the M19105100 line by $10,000.
I have a
But
quick,
that's my ideal situation. It gives the lowest paid employees the increase that they were looking for, and it takes a little bit off the highest paid employees.
so I got a quick question
But
with
it's not,
that.
it's just everyone's increasing, still increasing.
But I got a quick question with that though, right? So like what you said sounds like really good. It sounds like a good idea, but what if they're not given that? So like, what if like we vote on that and we pass that and it still goes to the highest, whatever we propose still goes to the highest paid person and there, like that's just because we're proposing that, that doesn't mean how that money is going to be divvied.
We're not sure about that.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like that.
I
no,
believe
No, I,
that we
no,
can- yeah.
I know that. I'm just saying, like, even though we propose that, that's not gonna, we're not sure how that money is gonna be.
No. I think we have a line by line, position by position decrease for these positions, according to the memo, but the memo is not 100% clear.
Okay,
So this is the exception to the rule that we don't have control over the italic lines for these management appointed positions. I think that's where I'm
okay,
in,
me too, okay.
So if we move on in our agenda and come back to this topic at another meeting, we'll have that answer definitively.
I mean, because that makes a big difference. I think
if we can be more direct, if we can more solidly direct what would be the
yes,
proposal.
yes.
So we have the memo on this specific topic that I was probably prepared by Ken Frank or Brian Seacrest and has been kind of updated. So I suggest we all take a serious look at that. And I think Corporation Council is also going to take a serious look through that and what it's based on. And then we all think about how we would like this to turn out at the when we reschedule this. What your personal positions are, and we have a template of Councilman Hotchkiss's proposal, or what his motion would probably be, and we can exactly map out how those changes would be implemented between the A fund, the A general fund and the M fund. Okay, and then I will just throw this into the mix that again, according to that memo, we could make a change that the mayor can't veto. And then, that's actually news to me tonight. Apparently that's not vetoable. I don't know why, but it's in the memo. But there is still the salary pool for next year, which could be calculated and handed out. So in order to retain corporation council, the mayor could again choose to use the majority of that fund to put back to effectively restore those cuts. And that would reduce the pool available for the other management employees next year. So that's just another piece of the puzzle. So unless there's anyone with very urgent thoughts, I suggest we not close these pages and move on to the city clerk's pages. Everyone okay? Thank you. Oh,
Could I-
sorry, go ahead. Yep.
Oh, did I
Please.
just ask Councilman Hotchkiss to repeat the rundown again? I don't know that I have it right.
Go ahead. We'll call this the Hotchkiss plan.
Okay, so this would be the final salaries, and I think I misspoke or there was one little piece off. Corporation council would get $140,000 salary. The first assistant would be $115,000. And then we have the assistant corporation counsel 1 and 2, which would be at $90,000. The paralegal is at 52,260, and the secretary is at 44,592.
Assistant Corp Counsel 1 and 2.
That would achieve what I'm trying to achieve. And I think those are all still healthy increases. It'd be 30 on the A line and 10 on the M line. I can send you this little spreadsheet.
And again, next year we can look at things and how things are saved and give another rate increase. Things pan out.
Thank you for entertaining that.
Great. So we're keeping pages 29, 30, 213, 214, and 228 open. Thank Corporation Counsel for coming down and presenting and vociferously defending the officer's position. And I'd like to welcome down our somehow, Sam gonna come down and do notes? Oh. You're gonna minute yourself? Okay. All right. So welcome down the city clerk and the deputy clerk to present the clerk's office budget, the vital statistics budget, city council budget, and the fee schedule. So open pages 27, 28, 76, 16, and 227. Yes, sorry. So we're gonna open pages, the clerk pages 27, 28, vital statistics 76, city council 16, and the fee schedule on 227.
Hi, everyone. So I'll start with do you want to start with pages 27 and 28? That's the clerk's.
Sure.
Who are you? I'm sorry. What's your name?
Good.
What's your name?
Sam Costello. I'm the
Okay.
deputy clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
And what's your name?
I'm Sarah Denhoffer, the city clerk. So
Thank
nice to
you.
meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if we look at just a summary of those 2 pages, you'll notice that the first thing that comes up is a small increase in the personal services line, about $6,581. That accounts for a 3.5% salary increase for the clerk and the deputy clerk for next year, for which we came down before council already to ask for basically a cost of living adjustment.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Cool.
There was also a small staff salary increase due to the increased workload for the senior licensing clerk that was also approved. And then we have an additional change not included in proposal. So you'll notice in this summary as I go through that requests that were made that were not included in the proposed budget we'll come back to at the end of the summary. Okay.
Do we still have a bingo inspector?
Do we have?
Do we still have a bingo inspector? Do they?
Yep,
I've
Phil.
never met bingo. Oh,
Yep.
wait,
Phil Cahill.
Phil Cahill,
Cahill,
Phil?
yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And he does a wonderful job.
I
We are very lucky. He's got a
didn't
lot of
Still
expertise.
did that. Wow. Okay.
Yep. So those are the small changes in the proposed budget. Temporary services, no change. Overtime, we made a requested change. It's not included in the proposed budget. We will come back to that. Office equipment, no change. Office supplies, again, a requested change, not included in the proposed budget. Printing, professional services, technical services, rent of lease, equipment lease, equipment repairs, legal ads and advertising, no changes in any of those. Travel and training, a requested change not included in proposal, and dues and membership, a requested change not included in the proposal. If you'd like, I can go through what those requested changes were. Okay.
Go ahead.
So under personal services, we made a requested change to add 1 full-time senior licensing clerk. We attached in this memo for you all an explanation of why we believe the office needs an additional staff member. If you want to speak to that.
Sure. So we did request this change for several reasons. I would say that the major reason that this change was requested was due to infrastructure needs. As you all have probably noticed, having 1.5 staffers on either side of the office means that if one person is on holiday or sick or otherwise unable to perform their job, the office infrastructure really breaks down. And with such a bare bones staff, it does mean that the deputy clerk and I are pulled away from our duties and do have to kind of do double and triple duty to cover those positions in an already incredibly busy position. We also noted that the half-time staffer who has shared duties between both jobs doesn't actually necessarily have analogous duties with the other staffer in their office, so they can't sub in for each other the way that one would hope. And overall, our workload has increased. We do have a higher number of ceremonies, a higher number of legislation, overall higher amounts of customer service required.
So you'll notice from the table that as our workload trends, maybe not exactly every year, but is trending upward over time, the staffing of the office has trended downward over time. So what used to have 3 full-time staffers just in that clerk's side of the office alone back in 2010 slowly decreased over time until after COVID, they no longer even posted that position as being available for the senior account clerk. So what that has meant is that on that side of the office, things have grown increasingly lopsided and the division of labor has become increasingly difficult to manage, with the clerk and myself jumping in to try to help with front of office work as much as possible. Happy to and grateful to have learned how to do that, but I think that it would behoove the council to support the staff that works there so that they don't feel like they can't take time off when they need to.
And to that point, I know we've been talking a lot about staff retention tonight. The clerk's office in particular has seen a lot of turnover over the past several years, excuse me, not only in management positions, but also in lower positions. And I can tell you from experience that the current staff that we do have do feel quite overtaxed and could absolutely use the support. And lastly, to that point, I would say that we have also generally increased revenue within the clerk's office. We are looking to exceed the clerk's fees this year, which you'll note in another chart. There you are. So the graphs that you have attached to your packet here, the very first one lists clerk's fees. We are about $800 away from meeting our revenue stream as of 9/1. That's when these numbers are current. And we do expect to exceed that revenue. That is largely due to the fact that the deputy clerk and I only do marriage ceremonies during business hours, which means that all of the revenue from that goes back into the clerk's office, which has not always historically been true.
Just pause if anyone has questions on the personal services line.
I think I kind of have the same. It would be nice. I think it would be easier for everyone to understand this if you had the combined vitals into this.
So technically they're separate parts of the budget, which is why they can't be
Right.
combined.
They are on separate pages and we pay for all of their supplies, staffing, everything out of separate lines. So we kind of have to manage them separately.
Although I will say it's complicated right now that there is a person quite literally split in the budget between the clerk's side and the vitals side. So the idea is to move half of that person over to one side full time and bring another full-time person to the clerk side. That person already has significant experience in the vital statistics office and would be comfortable to be on that side of the office full time. So we wouldn't have to go through significant retraining or anything like that to accommodate this change. So I know that doesn't solve the problem of the clerks and vitals being separate, but I will go through vitals as well.
Councilman Hotchkiss, I'm trying to remember when we visited Cortland, I think they had 2 staffers, one on vital records and one on the clerk side, but they're obviously substantially smaller than the city of Binghamton.
Yeah, I think you'll find one thing that's complicated about these positions with clerks is that they're not really analogous in many different municipalities. So in smaller municipalities, the clerk might also be the vital statistics registrar and the town treasurer. In other municipalities, like there's a whole entire clerk division to take care of some of these things, where there's one clerk who deals solely with marriages, one clerk who deals solely with dog licensing, that kind of stuff. So we
Right.
tried to pull this from municipalities that are analogous to ours.
Right. Unfortunately, even though a lot of the duties do overlap, the actual offices are very different from municipality to municipality in structure.
Anybody else, or am I good to go on?
We can move on to vitals.
Or I think I still have to go through overtime and.
Want to keep moving? Yeah.
Yep, so we have a request for overtime. This year we only expended about $15, I think, in overtime. The reason that we requested this was just because we're not sure if we're going to receive another staffer, and we also would like to just have some cushion higher than 0 to be able to give overtime to our CSEA employees. As management appointed staff, we would not receive any overtime, and just so that's clear to everybody, but it would be a cushion for CSEA employees. Moving on to office supplies, we requested a $1,000 increase. We've noticed over this year an increase in paper and supply use. We support city council in creating packets, agendas, all of these kinds of things, research materials. The animal control officer often comes over because she doesn't have a printer in her office, so she'll come over and use our printer, our fax machine, that kind of thing. And we've also tried to increase accessibility for the public in printing packets, as was requested at the beginning of this year by a constituent. So again, that's an increased volume of paper that we produce every week. We've also seen an increase in the volume of specialized licenses that require certain kinds of paper. So marriage licenses, certified documents all have to be printed on security paper, and that is an increased cost. And then I'll just round it out. If you have questions, we can come back to them. Travel and training, we requested an increase of $1,500. There's been a historical lack of professional development that has severely impacted staff training in the clerk's office. Our office is essentially the records management hub of City Hall, and it's very important that we're able to properly train both ourselves and our staff in how to properly manage and upkeep records. This is an integral part of what our office is supposed to do to support both constituent services and City Hall. And we feel that it's very important as we continue to develop our staff that we have the funds to be able to send them to conferences or even do small things like do paid webinars where they can actually interact with their peers and have discussions that help illuminate their knowledge around these topics. The last one is an increase for $100 in dues and memberships. We currently have enough money in the budget to cover our membership in the Broome County Clerks Association. We would like to be able to join the New York State City and Village Clerks Association. We were previously members of that association, but that membership lapsed. We weren't able to attend a clerk conference this year because we are city clerks, yet we are not part of a city clerk association, so that would be helpful.
Does anybody have any questions on those requests?
So I had a question. It in office supplies, it looks like there's 0 for the next year, right? For the proposed the adopted budget for 2025, or
Yeah, I think you might be looking at the adopted budget versus the proposed budget. All of the adopted budget lines are zeroed out until you all make a decision.
Office equipment is 0, but office supplies is 2,000.
Oh, I see. I'm wrong. I read the wrong thing. It's past my bedtime.
Fine.
Starting to see stars. Thank you.
No problem. There's nothing further I can do. Items.
Councilman Hodges? Oh, I thought you had a question. I'm sorry. So
I don't see where you're asking for an overtime increase, but it's not in this budget right now.
right, these are every single request that we are stating to you is a request that was not included in this proposed budget.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Requests were made at budget time, but they were just not included in the draft, to be clear.
Understandable.
If you don't have additional questions on clerk, I can move to vitals, but yeah. So that's on page 76.
All right,
Okay.
76.
Go for it.
Hold on. Give me a moment.
So going through the vitals budget, if you look at personal services, you'll know no change. Same for temporary services. In overtime, we similarly requested a small $500 increase that is reflected at the bottom of this page in budget request not reflected. That is for the same reason as in the clerk's office. That is in the hopes of simply creating a small cushion for those employees that may need in an emergency to work overtime, not for management. For office equipment, we did not request any change. For office supplies, there is a requested change that was not included in this proposal. We did request that office supplies go up $1,000 due to the increased cost of the certified purple paper, which we have to use for official documents. It is quite expensive and continues to be more expensive. Then.
Hang on a second, Sarah. Are you increasing it 1,000 or up to 1,000 for the office supplies? Increase it by 1,000 or just increase it from the 800 up to or 750 up to 1,000?
I would hope to
Or the
increase
mail.
it by 1,000. A box, a carton of these papers costs 250 alone.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
was looking at 800. I just wanted to make sure I was right.
Correct. Then for printing, professional services and equipment repairs and maintenance, we did not request any type of change and there is no change reflected. So we did kind of want to outline some of the future things that are on the horizon for us that we're looking out for funding for. We did not request them in this year's budget, but I would like you all to know that we are trying to plan ahead as much as possible. We are looking into updating our storage equipment, having waterproof and fireproof storage. That is unfortunately currently something that the city does not have, and we do want to make sure that we're being responsible with records management. We will be pursuing grant opportunities on that subject. And we are looking to install a second door between city council chambers and our office to increase security as well. Anybody have any questions on that?
Great. Okay, if we're good on city clerk and vitals, we can move on to city council, which is on page 16. So there is, you'll note an increase of about $2,513 in the personal services line. This is the standard $359 per council member increase. It's been the same over the last few years. No changes in temporary services and overtime. We did make a requested change not included in the proposal for office supplies. No change in professional services, equipment lease rental, building equipment, improvement and maintenance. We did make a requested change not included in the proposal for travel and training, and there is no change for the subs dues and membership. I can go through those requested changes really quickly. Under office supplies, we asked for an increase of $500. A council member requested a banner for when the council participates in parades or public functions. That would be roughly $200. And in addition, just supplies, they tend to disappear out of our office. So we would like a small increase in paper, pens, ink, those kinds of things. Council predominantly is able to work out of the work session room, but it does mean that they use a lot of the functional supplies that are in the building. They don't bring their own supplies, so we see a need for them to have an increase in their supply budget. And then under travel and training, an increase for $1,000. So we think this was requested by council for additional professional development and training opportunities. You'll notice that some council members were able to attend certain trainings this year, but there was a request for an increase so that more council members could attend different trainings and probably have more flexibility in figuring out which trainings they wanted to attend.
And I can speak to that a bit. In order for me to participate in trainings, I had to badger multiple council members to give up their training budget to participate in things like the comptroller's accounting school training to understand about city finances. That was an $85 two-day training, which my $50 allocation would not cover. So just to give you a sense that $50 travel and training per member requires everyone to sacrifice to do very minimal training opportunities.
I went to the New York State Historic Preservation Conference up in Rochester, which was wonderful and extremely valuable in my role on CAUD as ex-officio member of CAUD, and I pay that travel, hotel, and conference fees out of pocket, which I'm willing to do, but shouldn't be, shouldn't necessarily be the norm for people that are just trying to get up to speed on the roles we have.
I would like to explain, I think, what happened. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the budget for your departments was updated within Munis.
That is correct. We were not made aware of the deadline by which munis had to be completed prior to our meeting.
It's no problem that you didn't miss the deadline. That's not a problem. It happens. I think that you may have sent a request to Tiffany to increase the lines or something. I don't know.
No, we went through them all together in
I remember
CR's office.
I remember you talking about these topics. I think it just didn't get added into the budget. No one consciously didn't give you your requests.
I mean, we also provided paper copies to that office.
But so Tiffany was in charge of updating the budget and we didn't realize that she hadn't done that. And then I took over that part. So it was a miscommunication.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, regardless of,
Yeah, the intention's not to throw anybody under the bus here or to be contentious. It's really just to say like, this is what we proposed. This is how it's been reflected.
right, this is just what we see as our needs. It doesn't really matter how we got here.
I'm glad Rachel explained that because I think it's important context. So the mayor didn't make any changes to the clerk's office budget. So your request, like, we have no position on them. Like them not being in the proposed budget is not a reflection of the administration's position on whether they should be included. I'm just hearing this. So I just want to be clear for the record that them not being in the proposed budget is not like a reflection of the administration saying we're against the increase.
Yeah, and I hope that I didn't miscommunicate when I
No,
spoke. I wasn't accusing anybody in the mayor's office of not wanting to adjust our budget, but we just wanted to be very clear that the request was made on August 6th in writing to the comptroller, to the assistant comptroller, to Tiffany, and to the council president and the chair of finance. They're all listed in the email. Okay, that's fine. Appreciate the clarification. Are there any questions on the city council budget?
Yeah, actually, I have one. In the travel and training, is there any certain training that you have in mind to send the new employees? And I mean, from the clerk's budget line, A1410.54701.
Absolutely. I mean, I can speak to even our experience going to the training earlier this year. The deputy clerk and I were able to attend NICOM earlier this year, and we were able to have our actual registration fee covered by the travel and training costs contained in our budget. But we had to move money within our budget to find money for the hotel. And we paid for all of our own actual gas and food while at the training. So that did not even cover the one training that we were trying to attend this year. We would also like to be able to furnish trainings to our employees under us. There are lots of records management trainings available that we could be sending our employees to that we do not currently have the capacity to.
Speaking to your point about specific trainings, I'd say there's two major areas, one of which the clerk already touched on, which is records management training. So we'd love to attend some of the New York State Archive trainings that they provide. While we understand a lot of our staff can't travel, there are some paid webinar options that like give enhanced support to them that they wouldn't be able to do through their free webinars, which we do already take advantage of within the context of our office. Another one is management training. So something that we've noticed about the clerk's office is that it has stagnated over time and not grown the professionals that exist in that office. It's really important to us as managers that we empower our staff to be able to gain some management related skills so that they can be department heads one day, or they can move on in whatever kind of direction in the municipality they'd like to move on to. Given that they have not had the opportunity for any kind of professional development, we haven't seen those management skills develop in the way that we feel we could support them to.
Do you feel like the city of Binghamton then would end up as a stepping stone if you end up educating them for them to leave for a different municipality?
What I've actually found is that employees are much more motivated to stay when you show them that you value them and you would like to help them grow professionally. That has been our experience in the office. That has also been my experience prior to this position.
And I think we have seen a cultural shift in the office based on the idea that we have encouraged even free professional development opportunities. Tomorrow we're doing a group webinar together in the work session room just to go over basics of record management, so we're all on the same page. Things like that really creates an office culture where people feel valued within the city. Even if we can't directly affect their salary increases or decreases, we can provide other benefits to them that make them want to stay and work with the city of Binghamton. And it's very difficult to retrain a clerk. We like to keep them around to the extent that we can. There has been an immense amount of turnover, and it has caused a lot of discrepancies really with how the office has been managed. We can move on to fee schedule if you'd like.
We do have a section in the fee
I'm gonna
schedule.
ask a question.
Sure,
That, how did you come up with the increase of $500 for overtime? Like, where was the methodology in that?
I mean, to be honest, I'm really just trying to create a cushion here. That's all it is. I mean, the one time that we used our overtime budget this year was a reflection of both of us simultaneously being sick at the same time. It is a rare occurrence. That's why we didn't ask for a lot of money in that line, just a couple hundred, a few hundred, to make sure that should that kind of emergency pop up again, that our staff is able to cover us and have the option to choose overtime, because as CSEA employees, they are able to choose between overtime and comp time, as is their right. I shouldn't be pushing them into one or another.
Any other questions on those? All right. Think we can move on to fee schedule unless, do you have a question, Councilmember Kevin?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Any- No other questions at the moment? No, all right, fee schedule.
Okay,
Hang on, maybe
okay.
Chuck, so if this is being presented slightly different than the other departments, so if we wanted to do all these proposals, we'd have to increase the individual lines with the individual motions.
What lines are you talking? I don't have
So,
that.
so if we just did like we were just talking about the overtime line of $500, would we have to make a motion to do that overtime increase?
Yes.
And
We would have to move the money out of
do
contingency into
everything?
that line.
Okay,
Line by
You'd
line.
have to do, yeah, you'd have to do it line by line.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the fee schedule. Give me just a second. Let's pull this out. So there is no change in the majority of the fees that are associated with the clerk's office and the proposed budget. We did not request.
Sarah or Sam,
Oh, sorry.
for clarity, as we work through this, Corporation Council doesn't have a copy of the proposed changes. Do you have an extra one? Or Nate's?
Alrighty, so back to the fee schedule. Back to the fee schedule. So no change on most of the fees contained within this schedule. There is an added food truck license and Collier Street food truck permit fee. I would just like to be clear that this was not based on recommendation from my office. This was, I believe that this is based on intent to complete a food truck bill that is in draft form currently. Just wanted to make that clear. There is, we are requesting two changes. One is hopefully to reduce the dog shelter fee to $25 from $50. The reason for that is that we have noticed that the current $50 charge has created significant financial hardship to those coming to our office to redeem their dogs. Often this fee is included in let's say an amalgamation of fees that are levied by both the shelter and by the city. And by the time that clients come to the city, they are under quite a bit of stress, and it doesn't incentivize licensure prior to the seizure of a dog. What we've noticed is that we are actually quite under the expected revenue. If you go back to our charts on the dog licenses, and I do believe that this may help to even that out.
Can you say that last part again? You said.
Right, if you look at our revenue stream, the dog license revenue stream is actually the most behind in pace. If you go to,
And that's not because we're not licensing as many dogs necessarily, but it's because the revenue expectation keeps going up year after year, even though we don't hit that revenue goal year after year. And so in trying to adjust for that revenue goal and be more realistic about the level of revenue that we expect dog license, I mean, the animal control officer is doing an incredible job of trying to pull us from that 25% licensure figure that we're at now to something significantly higher. Both offices have been working
Oh, you're
together
gonna
to
get
try
some
to
snaps
support
for
that.
that.
Yeah, Erin is incredible. That being said, we do think, the animal control officer herself initially wanted to eliminate this fee altogether because she doesn't believe that it does much at all to prevent dogs being redeemed to the shelter. And all it does is to really serve to create a financial hardship for folks.
yeah, we do believe that lowering this fee could incentivize folks to actually come in more often. We also would like to explore doing intentional outreach around incentivizing dog licensure next year by potentially going to adoption events or other such community events where it might be possible to meet the community where they're at.
Any more questions on the fees?
We do have one more fee that we would like to add to the schedule. We would love to add something like a lost item or a reprint fee. What we've noticed is that if somebody comes in, receives a document, and then either loses it or damages it, and they need it reprinted, we do not actually have a way to charge them. So we would like to institute some type of fee in that case.
So this is like a repeat business, like say somebody came in for
Like a marriage certificate.
So
Right.
there,
marriage certificate. So like, but
well, not
there's so like they got married
Or
2 weeks ago and they've lost
marriage
it.
trade. Well, let me give you an example, just to clarify. So like there are forms that are issued that where the state gets a portion of the fee for the form and the clerk's office gets a portion of the fee for the form, right? So those are forms where if somebody loses their marriage certificate, we can reprint one, the state gets a portion of the fee, we get a portion of the fee. There are other forms that don't go to the state, such as a marriage license. That form is a form that's not registered with the state yet, but it is printed on special paper that we have to order from the state. There are other such papers like genealogy forms that are printed on secure paper that might not be a certified copy that's registered with the state, but they are a copy that's registered through our office. We have a basic fee for those types of things. Those fees are typically correlated to something like a marriage where there's a fee that goes to the state, but we don't have a mechanism in the current status quo to be able to reprint your marriage license if you lose it before you get married and charge for it. This wouldn't be for, printing out random documents for folks. It's specifically related to official documents that don't have a state fee associated with them. Therefore, they can't be put into the state system.
So essentially, we're not just carrying the cost of their supplies of reprinting.
Has that been a common occurrence?
Yeah, I would say it's not excessively common, but when it does come up, it is frustrating because it sets sort of a precedent in the office that those we really try to impart upon folks that every piece of paper, every semi or official document that they get from our office is associated with a fee because it generally is at the state level. So we feel that at the local level, it just makes sense to have that correlation. It's happened, I can think of 2 times in the last month that someone lost their marriage license where we had to reprint them.
So uncommon, but not never.
Yeah.
Do you have a dollar amount that you're thinking about for that additional fee?
We were thinking 10. Nothing excessive.
10 for each one or
Yeah.
10, like whether it was $40 or $25
Yeah,
to
10, yeah.
to do it, not just like half the cost?
No, because we looked at the types of paper that we're looking at and the commonness of this occurrence. We think $10 flat fee seems reasonable, honestly. Yeah, proportionally, it doesn't seem to be a huge difference.
I don't
Say
know.
what-
Well,
you know,
we don't want to make it burdensome for folks. I think we try to keep things as reasonable as possible. Like similarly, I wouldn't want to raise the price per sheet of foils to 50 cents. It just becomes unwieldy for people at a certain point. So
And I don't think that we necessarily see this as a revenue stream so much as a way to not lose money on the interaction.
So I'm ready to make the motion to reduce the dog shelter fee. Does anybody have questions about that?
I'll second.
I'll make a motion to reduce the dog shelter fee on the yeah. I'd like to make a motion to reduce the dog shelter fee from $50 to $25.
I'll second. I just see stars.
So
It's page 227.
227.
It's like a double wide line.
It's
Yeah.
not,
One that with parentheses says if need to license dog to get it
Yeah,
out of the
it's,
shelter.
it's,
oh, there it is. Okay. Thank you.
Is that the one?
Sorry. It wasn't highlighted because it didn't propose change. Okay. So motion by Councilman Hotchkiss, second by Councilman Middleton to change dog shelter fee if needed to license dog to get it out of the shelter. Thank you for the explanation, from $50 to $25.
so they still need to pay an additional fee on top of that to license their dog at that point.
Correct, yes. If the dog is neutered or spayed, it would be $15, if not $25, and that's the standard licensing fee.
So any further discussion on the motion?
$50?
That's where I was talking about how there's kind of a multitude of fees that are levied at that point. The shelter has its own fees and we also have our own fees. So we have to charge the fee to license the dog and charge a penalty essentially for the fact that they were unlicensed when they picked them up from the shelter.
We're making a smaller stick.
Right. This would just lower that amalgamation.
Making the stick smaller. Anyway, any other discussion on the motion? Would the clerk call the roll from across the room, please?
No problem. Councilmember Porter,
Hey,
Councilmember Middleton,
Hi.
Councilmember Matavetsky,
Aye.
excuse me, Council President, sorry. Councilmember Dundon,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Alrighty, that is 5-1.
Okay. Good. So, fellow council.
I was gonna say, hopefully we'll revisit this next year and see if it actually had that impact, if it shows that people are
Yeah.
just gonna continue to not license their
Yeah.
dogs.
I will say that
Uh,
Erin is incredible at keeping track of data, and she has been tracking data over time. That's why we've had so many back and forth conversations of
Yeah.
her deciding, should it go away altogether? Should it be 25?
I would love to reevaluate this in a year and see if it works.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
obviously the goal is
Oh,
to
yeah,
get
yeah.
people to license their dogs.
Thank you. All right, before we move off of 227, I would like to motion to add a $10 replacement item fee to the city clerk's schedule of fees.
I'll second.
All right, motioned by me, seconded by Councilman Middleton. Any discussion on the motion?
I think it should be higher, but I know you guys don't want to burden people.
All right.
We can
seeing no
reassess
dis-
next year when we
Seeing
see.
no discussion, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Councilmember Porter,
aye.
Councilmember Middleton, Council President Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
Great, all right. So we have the proposed budget for the city clerk and vital statistics, and we have a variety of proposed changes. Is there further discussion around those changes? Does anyone want to start to make any motions? How are we doing? And the city council budget as well. Do we want to also think on this and revisit it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if we have to go line by line on this, I think we should revisit it. Because
I would second that. I'm seeing stars at this point. It's past my bedtime. Which I understand if anybody are.
We have no problem coming back. No problem.
All right. Let's, let me get some sense of accomplishment. on
Do you want to
evening.
close the page?
No, hold on.
No?
Let's, wait, I want to open one more page.
Okay.
I'd like to open, oh, no, motion to reconsider. Hold on. So let's do, would someone want to make a motion to close 227?
I'll make a motion.
Council, motion by Councilman Dundon, seconded by Councilman Porter. Any discussion on the motion to close two twenty?
Let me correct that for the record.
as
I will,
amended.
yes, I will make the motion as amended.
Thank you.
I guess I'll point out that the clerks had mentioned that the food truck license and the food truck permits were not something that they had gotten a chance to weigh in on.
Yeah, I'm not sure where those fees came from, the food truck and the food truck permit. They didn't come from our office. Yeah, so we've been working with economic development and Councilmember Hotchkiss to draft that legislation. We did not come to any kind of conversation about the fees, but frankly, we're not too worried in the sense that the fees can be adjusted next year as necessary.
Right, they can be adjusted with the legislations once you all consider it.
Premature legislation.
Again, not
This-
from our office.
Right, but it's the fee doesn't exist in
There's no way to
audience.
currently exercise this fee,
Okay.
correct?
All right, very good. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out, Council President. Any other discussion on the motion to close 227? Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember
Aye.
Middleton, Council President Matavetsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to reconsider page 228, which is the police fees. I believe it was Council President Manovetsky that pointed out that the new off-road vehicle ATV violations that we passed are not actually in the budget yet.
Oh,
And if they're in the law, it's okay. We wouldn't be remiss, but we should put them in here to be kind of nice and proper and neat. And since we did spend some time on it, so I have them printed out here. I'll read them off. So they'll be.
Hang on, you gotta.
Hmm?
your-
Oh,
your
sorry.
motion.
Yes, sorry.
You're gonna-
I'm still. Yes, we're adding it in. Sorry. Right. Motion. Oh, sorry. I got to open the page. So motion to reconsider page 228. Motion by me. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second.
sorry.
Do we just call the roll on that? All right.
Councilmember Porter,
You want to have a discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to have a discussion about it.
This is just to reopen the page.
we're just reopening.
we're
the-
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Oh, okay, yes, okay.
Okay.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton, Council President Matavetsky.
aye.
Councilmember Dundon,
Yep.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we have reopened the page. So we're looking at police fees. We didn't put the ATV fees in. They didn't make it into the draft. I have them printed off here if people want to. Although this is not correct, is it? Didn't we change it down from 2,000? What?
So what,
It's 1,000
1,000?
for the redemption fee. Hmm? Okay, Sam's gonna look it up. So there are 4 different fees. There's an off-road violation, off-road vehicle violation, first offense, off-road vehicle violation, second offense, off-road vehicle violation, third offense, and then off-road vehicle redemption fee. Sam is going to confirm the fees now. Each one, yeah. Okay. Or, yeah, okay.
I don't blame him. You said 228?
Go, yeah.
The first time any person is found to be operating an off-road vehicle in violation of the provisions of 400-117A or B, or in violation of 3014 of the Code of the City of Binghamton, it shall be punishable as a violation with a fine not to exceed $500 or imprisonment not to exceed 15 days or both. Second time, can I skip the in-between parts?
Yep.
Second time, it shall not exceed $750 or imprisonment not to exceed 15 days or both. Third, in all subsequent violations, not to exceed $1,000 or imprisonment not to exceed 1 year or both.
Okay, and then the ATV redemption fee.
Proof of ownership and payment of a redemption fee of $1,000.
1,000. Okay. Thank you very much. Here we go. I would like to amend page 228 to add the following lines to the police fee schedule. Yes. So it's going to be off-road vehicle violation, first offense, $500. Second one will be off-road vehicle violation, second offense, $750. Next will be off-road vehicle violation, third offense, $1,000, and off-road vehicle redemption fee for each vehicle of $1,000. Do I have a second?
And
Second by Council President Matavetsky. Any discussion on the motion? Yes.
Oh, never mind. After hearing the, thing, cause I was wondering about the fee, but I think my question is, I thought it was going towards not, the fee itself was going towards the youth services.
It is. This is simply how we collect the revenue.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is an, I
Is-
believe
is-
it's ordinance 24-29, which is Councilmember Hotchkiss's ordinance establishing a new budget line for.
Which,
youth
if I can
service.
say, has that been
You-
established in?
Yes, that was established and passed along with the legislation.
Right, we've established the line. There's just nothing in it right now.
Okay.
Any other discussion on the motion?
Well,
Will the clerk
all
call
my
the roll?
questions-
What?
I'm just saying, all my questions were answered.
Okay, will the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye,
Thank you. That's 4-0.
thank you.
thank you.
All right, so then, right. Next, I'd like to motion to close the police portion of page 228 as amended.
Second the motion?
Seconded by, motion by me, seconded by Councilman Porter. Will the clerk call the roll? I'm sorry, is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton, Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Finance Chair Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Thank you. That's 5-0.
All right, we did a thing. So just to recap, we have closed the assessment pages. We have closed the mayor, the municipal association dues, and the celebrations pages. We are keeping open corporation council, pages 29 and 30, risk assessment 213, 214, the fee schedule on 228. We closed that? We closed 20. No, we didn't. Okay. And we're keeping open the clerk on 27 and 28, vital statistics on 76, city council on 16, and the fee schedule we closed. So we've closed 220. We closed 227 and we also reconsidered page 228 police fees. Everyone have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Oh, fine. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second. Okay, wait.
All in
somebody makes a
favor?
motion.
Aye. Oh,
First, in a motion to. adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Porter, second by Councilman Middleton, all in favor.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.
I'm starting to see stars. I gotta pass my bedtime. I gotta take off my wig. My- Huh? No, we closed it. Everything was closed.
Okay.
You know it.